I remember the day I was taken from the farm to the large factory in the United States. From my point of view, everything felt strange and overwhelming. First, I was carefully transported in a truck along with other animals. When we arrived, the workers guided us calmly into a holding area. I could sense that this place was different. It was clean, organized, and strictly controlled. Before anything else, I was thoroughly washed. Warm water sprayed over my body, removing dirt and mud from my skin. Large rotating brushes gently scrubbed me to ensure I was completely clean. After the wash, powerful air dryers blew warm air across my body until I was fully dry. The workers handled everything in a systematic way, following strict hygiene and safety rules required in American factories. Soon after, I was moved to the processing section. From my perspective, I could see stainless steel machines, conveyor belts, and workers wearing protective clothing. The process was designed to use every useful part responsibly. My body was processed in a controlled and regulated manner. The fat, known as tallow, was separated carefully. This tallow is one of the traditional ingredients historically used in soap production. It was cleaned, filtered, and purified at high temperatures to remove impurities. The purified fat was then transferred into large steel tanks. Inside the soap-making area, I could see giant mixing vessels where the purified tallow was combined with other ingredients such as plant oils, fragrance compounds, colorants, and sodium hydroxide. The mixture was heated and stirred continuously in a process called saponification. This chemical reaction transformed the fats into soap. The mixture thickened into a smooth, creamy substance. After that, it was poured into molds and allowed to cool and harden. Once solid, the soap was cut into uniform bars by automated cutting machines. Next, the bars passed through stamping machines that pressed the Lux brand name onto each piece. After stamping, the soaps moved along conveyor belts into packaging machines, where they were wrapped in branded paper and packed into boxes. Quality control inspectors examined samples to ensure the texture, fragrance, and shape met high standards. Finally, the finished Lux soap bars were packed into cartons and prepared for distribution across stores in the United States. From my perspective, everything in the factory followed strict procedures, from washing and drying to processing and transforming fat into a finished beauty product. The entire journey was systematic, industrial, and carefully regulated, turning raw materials into the familiar Lux soap bars found on store shelves. As I moved deeper into the factory, my journey continued through even more detailed stages of refinement. After the initial separation of fat, the tallow was not used immediately. From what I could sense around me, it went through an advanced purification process. Large stainless steel tanks heated it to very high temperatures to eliminate bacteria and impurities. Powerful filtration systems strained it multiple times until it became a clear, pale substance. Everything was monitored by digital control panels and technicians in white lab coats who carefully checked temperature, pressure, and chemical balance. Once purified, the fat entered the heart of the soap production system. In enormous industrial kettles, it was blended with precisely measured amounts of plant-based oils. Computers controlled the exact ratios. Then sodium hydroxide solution was slowly added. The mixture churned continuously for hours. This stage, saponification, was where the transformation truly happened. The thick liquid slowly turned into soap base. Steam rose from the kettles, and the air smelled faintly of clean oils and warm fragrance compounds waiting to be added. After the main chemical reaction was complete, excess water was removed through vacuum drying systems. The soap mass became denser and firmer. It was then pushed through refining rollers, heavy steel cylinders that compressed and smoothed the texture repeatedly. This made the soap uniform and silky. From there, it entered an extrusion machine, where it was forced through a shaped opening to form a long, continuous soap log. That log moved along a conveyor belt and was automatically cut into perfectly equal bars. Each bar passed under a metal stamp that pressed the Lux logo clearly into its surface. I could feel how precise and synchronized everything was. Machines moving in harmony, workers observing from stations, quality inspectors randomly selecting pieces for testing. The bars were then cooled further in temperature-controlled chambers to prevent cracking. After cooling, They traveled into wrapping machines that folded branded paper tightly around each piece. Robotic arms grouped the bars into bundles and placed them into printed cartons. Each carton was sealed, labeled with batch numbers, and scanned before shipping. Finally, large pallets of boxed Lux soap were loaded into delivery trucks. From farm to factory to finished product, the entire system operated with strict hygiene laws, automation, and efficiency. Every step was regulated, measured, and inspected to meet industrial standards in the United States. As my journey continued inside the factory, everything became quieter and more mechanical. From my perspective, I could sense that this was no longer the farm. This was a highly controlled industrial environment. After the earlier preparation stages, the useful materials were carefully separated in accordance with strict U.S. safety and food processing regulations. Nothing was wasted. Every usable component was directed into a specific processing line. The fat that would eventually be used in traditional soap production was transferred into enclosed stainless steel rendering tanks. These tanks operated at carefully controlled temperatures. Large digital screens displayed heat levels, timing cycles, and purification stages. Engineers monitored the entire system to ensure consistency and cleanliness. Inside the rendering system, the raw material was gently heated and refined. Impurities were removed through filtration and centrifuge systems. What remained was purified tallow, clean, odor-neutral, and ready for industrial use. From there, it was pumped through sealed pipelines into the soap formulation section of the factory. In the main production hall, massive blending machines mixed the purified base with plant oils, fragrance oils, moisturizers, and other ingredients that give Lux soap its smooth texture and signature scent. Everything was precisely measured by automated systems. Sensors adjusted the mixture in real time to maintain quality standards. The soap base then moved through drying chambers where excess moisture was removed. Heavy steel rollers refined it into a smooth, uniform consistency. The material was compressed, shaped into long bars, cut into individual pieces, stamped with the Lux logo, and cooled. Finally, robotic arms placed the finished soap bars into elegant packaging. Cameras scanned each bar for imperfections. Approved products were boxed, sealed, palletized, and shipped across the United States to stores. From beginning to end, the process was systematic, regulated, and industrial, a transformation from raw material to a polished beauty product found on supermarket shelves. And so, as part of this vast industrial cycle, I shall stay in the memory of the process, not as a moment of chaos, but as a step within a carefully regulated system. Inside the factory walls, everything moved with precision. Stainless steel pipelines carried the refined materials silently overhead, while digital monitors tracked every batch number and temperature shift. Workers in protective uniforms observed the flow from behind glass panels, ensuring that standards were maintained at every second. The purified base derived from me continued through final refinement stages. It was deodorized, clarified, and tested in laboratory conditions to meet cosmetic-grade requirements. Samples were taken and examined under bright laboratory lights. Only when the composition matched strict U.S. manufacturing guidelines was it approved to move forward. In the finishing hall, the soap mixture passed through polishing rollers that gave it a silky, premium texture. Cooling tunnels stabilized each bar so it would not crack or lose shape. The Lux logo was pressed cleanly into the surface, a final mark of transformation. Soon, the bars were wrapped in glossy packaging, stacked into cartons, and labeled for distribution across supermarkets, pharmacies, and retail chains throughout the United States. Trucks waited at the loading docks, engines humming, ready to deliver the finished product to shelves where customers would never see the long industrial journey behind it. And in that quiet, mechanical way, I shall stay not as a presence, but as part of a transformation shaped by industry, regulation, and modern manufacturing.
We don't want it to get too hot.